You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast on the We Are Libertarians Network. I am your host, Jeremiah Morrell, and as always, I'm joined by our co-host, Dakota Davis.
How's it going, Jer?
Oh, well, it'd be better if I passed out the show notes in advance.
Yep, that's what I'm trying to get to. I think there's a little pause before I could respond to you.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. So our show is about our lives in rural Indiana. It's a show about folks who are involved in politics. We promise that our episodes are going to be a fun and an easy listen. We interview people who are influencers, elected officials, political experts, and people that we just find interesting. Does that sound about right, Dakota?
I think that sounds pretty good.
So who we got here?
Dave, what do you fall under?
Hopefully somebody that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Right, there we go.
Political expert, political candidate.
Yeah, our guest is a State Senate District number 26 candidate, Dave Ring. Your slogan that you have on your thing is Dave Ring, time for a wake-up call. Those are really good. I really like that play on words.
Thank you, sir.
It says you're a Berniecrat for State Senate.
That's correct. That's just another way of saying progressive.
Progressive, a bloody leftist.
That's right. That's right. That's
so
right.
The other side of the room, we have returning co-host Chase Peyton.
What up?
How we doing, man?
Pretty good, dude.
You're looking different.
I'm a little different.
You on the run from the law? You have a new appearance.
That's what everyone at work's been saying.
I'm gonna have to zoom in on you so everybody can see the difference. He looks professional. He looks clean.
I heard we had a good guest coming, so I had to shave.
Oh, I see how
that's all it took, right?
Yeah.
You don't clean up for us, but you will for Berniecrat.
I didn't even do this for Dakota's wedding, so
Yeah,
it's pretty special.
We don't judge over here. So.
The Bernie, I'm sure Bernie people are a lot like libertarians. You've got all different appearances.
We do.
You're not too worried about shaving or neck beards or.
No, I don't think that Bernie ever had at a rally a naked man with an iron cross tattooed on his arm run across the stage.
That's why I still think the libertarians need to have snipers at the national convention to keep that from happening the next time.
He's not wearing Armani suits either.
He took it off. He had a suit on when he took the stage. He had the suit on, but yeah, we got some issues. So So what have we been doing this week? I went to the basketball games on Tuesday. We're in sectional time. Cade. Chase over there in Cade's seat. You never texted me back. I thought we could go and have a double date again. Go to some basketball.
I think I was in bed.
I mean, Chase was on the sports desk, but I'm really glad that you brought up that you were in bed, because back in the day, what used to happen was that every time that I tried to reach out to Chase, you always thought that I was bad about texting back, but every time that I tried to reach out to Chase, it was like I never got a response until like 2:30 in the afternoon, and that just happened to be the time that he would be waking up.
It went both ways, okay?
It did sometimes.
So did we win?
Yeah, Newcastle won. Yeah. And we Newcastle, because I didn't go there, but I live here. So Newcastle, Indiana has the world's largest high school gym. So you as a future legislator from Henry County, you're going to have to know.
I'm familiar with that.
Know what you got. Yeah,
the Chrysler, is that what it's called? The Chrysler Gym?
Yeah, it's the well, I don't know if they call it Chrysler anymore. It used to be Newcastle Chrysler High School.
Yeah,
no, it's just
now I think it's the Newcastle Field House. I think we've abandoned the Chrysler name.
I'm showing my age there.
Yeah,
that's okay.
And crowned it and step up to the plate. They wanted the building, but they didn't want to pay any of the sponsorships that came along with the building.
I'm not picking on any of our corporate supporters in the community, but there are a bunch of boar's head signs in there when you go inside. Yeah, so they're supporting them.
That was the best job that I ever worked.
Was doing the electrical boar's head?
Yeah. Well, I should say the best construction job. The one I have now.
Yeah, your current employer may be listening. But if you like it so much, go back there. So, Friday night and Saturday night coming up, Newcastle sectionals going on. So if y'all are within shouting distance of that or any of the other basketball games, check it out. It's $10 for a 3-game ticket. It's a pretty good deal and really good basketball.
If you go, I'll go this time.
I'm going Friday night and probably Saturday night.
Great, now I have to go.
See, look at that. Have you met me?
No, he's going to hit me up so many times.
I'm...
Oh my goodness!
George Costanza, when he drives to the end of the Hamptons just to prove a point, that's the way I operate.
Yeah, you're not going to have a choice. You're just going to be like, "Oh my God, Jeremiah, yes, I will go."
So this Friday,
tomorrow.
Okay, I have an uncle coming in from New York.
That sounds made up.
I will try to make it.
Hey, bring your uncle.
Yeah, let's go. They hold 10,000 seats. They're not going to fill up.
He can come see the world's largest high school basketball field house at Newcastle.
And
that would be a good
he graduated
experience.
from Newcastle.
If there's still time, maybe
already
we'll go to Ellick and we'll add up coat of paint to the world's largest ball.
There you go.
It's true.
So,
Also in my district.
See, I'm trying to help you out.
All right.
he already knows his stuff, Jeremiah.
Melanie Wright was here, and it's in her district. So I'm sure you've run across Melanie a time or two now.
Yep.
On the trail.
Sure have. Yep.
Her sign is actually right above you. She was a really good guest. I really enjoyed having her on. But Jeremiah, you also did a little reconnaissance mission for the Boss Hog of Liberty.
I went undercover, as you said. I wore my glasses so I wouldn't look the same. Of course, I wasn't too undercover because I checked in on Facebook. On Monday, I checked out the Muncie Downtown Farm Stand and had had your ham and bean special and a salad.
Great.
So
give it to me straight.
I liked it. Some of the people I go with are they're not the crunchy granola types.
Right.
So they're hard to please. But I think we enjoyed it.
You took Jason Thompson.
I did take Jason. Yeah.
Well, and crunchy granola, we make a whole grain bread, so as opposed to white bread. So if you can get over that, you're probably going to love everything else about it.
That sounds right up my alley. We were talking a little bit before the show about all of your sandwiches, and there's a little Amish mart in Fountain City. It's called Fountain City Acres, and they have it's a grocery store first of all, but then they also have a sandwich bar where you can go and have lunch meat sandwiches made, and it is they're like $3, and every time I find excuses to go to Fountain City now to go and buy a sandwich. They're the best things ever. And now I'm really excited to go try your sandwiches.
Cool thing about our bread, if I can
Of course.
So
listen, we wouldn't have a show if we didn't self-promote. So please, let us get out of the way and tell us about what you got.
Well, so we're the only place in Muncie that makes our bread from scratch, and so we're hand forming these loaves.
I saw Subway; they bake them right there in the store.
Yeah, that's coming in all frozen off the truck, and then they bake it off.
It's the pre-made yoga mat, and
right?
They fold it out.
Yoga mat, that's right. Yeah. That's right. But we get our whole grain spelt from a nice old, I think 1870 mill in Greenville, Ohio. We go there, pick it up. They're getting the whole grain spelt grown on a local farm right in Darke County, but that's 1 hour from our door, so we pick up our flour there.
Darke County is the next county over, just into the state of Ohio.
Yep,
that's where you had to go to buy beer until this week.
Until this week, which you can buy it here now.
Finally got a little freedom.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we deserve pats on the back for that after this long.
On the governor's live stream, he actually what he prefaced it with was join me while I sign this bill and make history for the state of Indiana. I was like, is it really are you really saying that this is history? We're the last state in the union to finally adopt this.
And that's not the first thing like that we've done.
Yeah, it's kind of irritating, but oh well. I'm happy for it. All of the I don't know if you saw my posts or anybody else did my Facebook post. As I watched the live stream, there was so many comments coming through, just like all caps, baby boomer type comments, where it was like, "I do not agree with this. We have." That's my. Well, that's my talking.
It's always in caps locks. Dakota hears everybody in caps.
Well, I mean, if I see something in caps, that's how I read it. Like this,
you have to scream
this throaty, raising my voice at you type thing. Like, I don't agree. Actually, I saw one lady who said, "Do not agree," and it said ...
Sounds like my grandma. She was freaking out about it yesterday.
Really?
And I was like, "We're like the last state to do this." I was like, "It wasn't technically for religious purposes."
Yeah. This lady
it was for protectionism.
Yeah. This lady said, "Do not agree ... It's not just a 3, but it said drunk driving and it ... what's next? Marijuana? And I was like, well, not with that attitude.
The hashtag on that would be one less embarrassing law.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We've talked so many times on just embarrassing things that have come out of the state during the past legislative sessions and things.
This podcast is an embarrassing thing for this state, let's be honest.
Don't say that. We might have people listening that might want to come on.
So, yeah, we checked out the downtown farm stand. You had you guys sell spirits out of there, so are you going to have Sunday sales now?
We will, yeah. We will. We can start this Sunday.
Now, you've got a
beer
different...
and wine.
Yep. Okay, no, you don't have the hard liquor yet.
Right.
Because, you got to have a three-way license for that.
Yeah, and that's tricky in Delaware County.
He's also not a pharmacist.
You have to pay the VIG.
You got to kiss the ring and, shell out $100,000.
Someday maybe you'll be on the inside of the government and, be able to take care of yourself.
Well...
to the victor go the spoils and whatnot.
Yeah, it depends on how low I want to go, I guess.
Or if you just change the law and go for a little bit more freedom and we don't have to go begging for things that ought to be human rights anyway, or in natural law rights anyway.
Yeah,
right?
and so that whole thing is, I don't know if you know how that works with the three-way licenses, that they allow those to be owned like property. And
yeah, they go with the building.
Yeah, and so you can stockpile them as well. So for years we had people that owned 6 or 7 of those, and you're supposed to file every year and say, this liquor license is planned to be in use. And you have to say how you're planning to use it, even though you don't use it for like 6 years in a row.
I plan on keeping it until I sell it or lease it.
And it keeps the value up, right?
Of course.
So then, you can sit on 6 or 7 of them and somebody's willing to pay $100,000 for them. And that's
because we say there's a certain number of people in this community, and damn it, we can only have so much alcohol sold. So we're going to create a false market for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jeremiah's Zachary Bertram, who happens to be the neighbor of the Boss Hog of Liberty studios, just commented in all caps, think how much worse the drunk driving will be after church gets out.
Yeah, because the law now says that anybody that takes communion has to have hard liquor now. That's the way that's going to go.
Well, there's a really easy way to fix this, Jer, and it is selling hard liquor in church on Sunday. I think that is what we should have done instead of allowing it in liquor stores. But you get the people in the church.
It, or would it be untaxed because it's for religious purposes? So many opportunities.
I say it's untaxed.
Well, we'd certainly up church attendance, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a win-win situation for society.
You guys had an interesting sign, and I'll let you explain it, but it's your policy on carry-out liquor versus consuming it in the store.
Right.
Explain that to me, because I've never seen that done before.
So we have a 112 license, which allows people to drink there, and then we can also say carry-out. And what was the sign that you saw?
It's like an extra $2 or something.
Right.
If you want to drink it in the store.
Yeah, so we want to have really competitive carryout prices, like same as liquor stores or whatever. But there's extra insurance costs and glassware costs and employee costs to consuming it on site. So we can have two tiers of prices: one for carryout and then one for drinking in house.
Right.
So your insurance probably doesn't. I mean, I guess you can charge it, but the glassware thing, I guess, makes sense. But the insurance is like you got to pay. I mean, you don't have a variable insurance schedule. Well, I sold 7 beers today, so I have to kick in more money, right?
No, but it's for in-house. You have to pay more because there's supposed liability risks of somebody getting overserved in your restaurant, so you pay more insurance. And
I've always thought it'd be funny to have to go like back in the day when Qdoba would sell beer, just to go get absolutely plastered at Qdoba one time.
That would be hilarious. And like you got the burrito right there.
Yeah.
But really, whenever I get to drinking, I don't want like heavy meals. I want the chips and salsa, the nachos, peanuts.
I want it one time. It would be a great bit for somebody to do that.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. Speaking of beer, before with the Sean Rao episode, we did a little promotional video for Norris English Pub in Liberty, Indiana. I went back down there actually Saturday and Sunday. I went back down there twice.
Just moving in with those people.
Oh yeah, I love that place. And the owner was like, he recognized me and was
even with the new glasses.
Yeah, even with the glasses. And apparently, I'm not much like Clark Kent like I thought I was. But he actually, as a thank you, he was like, what can I give you for like this or whatever. I'm like, honestly, I wasn't doing it to try to get a sponsorship or anything. I'm just trying to show off our new camera. That's what that was about, and I love the beer. But he did make a comment that said that my my drinking glass was not appropriate with what I was drinking it out of before, because I was drinking it out of a Sun King ale glass. So
he said, if you give me a glass, I'll drink out of it.
He actually came up and he gave me a paper bag, and he was like, make sure you drink it out of something more appropriate next time. And that, I don't know if you can see it in the video or not, but it is a Norris English Pub 20-ounce pint glass.
So it's more than, it's like a pint plus. I don't know what the official term for that is.
And by the way, all of their craft beers in there are $5 for a 20-ounce pint. Yeah.
Nice.
It's, great prices and really good beer.
There we go. All right. Enough mucking around. Dave Ring's here. We should talk to him.
Let's do it.
So you're a Berniecrat. You're the first guy that I've seen that runs. It's like, hey, I'm a Bernie guy.
Yeah.
What's that mean? Pretend like we're not from Vermont or Democrats.
Sure. It's just a quick way to, hopefully somebody's driving by, they see a sign, they can align with, I know where my issues align and make that mental note with my name. It could have just as easily put progressive on there. I'm not sure, even though we have a long history of progressives in this country through different, going back to the New Deal era. And
is that so? Are you like? It sounds terrible. Are you a socialist? Like, because Bernie calls himself like a socialist, right?
He's a democratic socialist, but that's a great question, and I do get that occasionally. So let's talk about that. Let's get into the so socialism. True socialism is like, there's more government control in businesses, and all the elements of government are of society are essentially government controlled.
Right.
And even in Canada, which I think a lot of people in the U.S. consider socialist, it's not really a socialist country. They just have socialized medicine.
Right.
So,
for now, you still have the means of production. You own your own business and whatnot.
Yeah, I participate in capitalism and have my own business, have my own farm. Certainly believe in that. I just, but no, I'm not a socialist. I think we're a free market, right? But as we know, we're not a free market economy totally, because we have tariffs, as we saw today.
We are the most. We are as far from a truly free market as we could possibly get to pretend to be
We have subsidies.
Yep, that's what we that's what we like to say is crony capitalism, corporatism.
Yeah,
I've made the point a couple of times. Like, if you look up the true definition of fascism, and you really look up and you read Mussolini, you really find out that
I'm sorry that we are
we're
16 minutes in and we already went Mussolini on the point.
That's where we're going. Yeah, but they define fascism as a collaboration between governments and private enterprise and corporations and industry. So it begs the question, with all of the different subsidies that we give out, is that fascism? Like, that's a tough question that you have to answer whenever you're talking about economics. And I apologize because you're running for state senate, and obviously, this is much more of a national issue. But
that's great.
It's still interesting to hear.
Yeah. Well, so. Generally the jump is from socialism to communism, and I see that in forums and things all the time. Well, that's the same thing.
Yes, comrade.
And so, really the issue is about the black and white definition of those terms, whereas most economies are blends, right? And so the U.S. economy is a blend of some free market elements, and, do our grandparents like their Social Security? That's a blend of a socialism element, as well as Medicare.
If you let me buy out today, just call it good. I'll keep the rest of my money from here on out, and Grandma and Grandpa can keep collecting their check. We'll keep borrowing to pay them until they're gone. Yeah. I will make that deal today.
Yeah,
I know. You won't be in Congress to cut that deal with me, but I'll make that deal today if you could.
I understand that. I think my personal view on that is that having that untouchable protects all the people who might not be that good at managing money. And so at the end of the day, they get to be, 65, 66 years old.
It's a sliding scale depending upon how much they want to
draw. Yeah. They still have something there. It's not enough necessarily to live on, but it's helped a lot of people.
I think that a lot of the problem that we've seen here recently, and it keeps getting brought up election cycle after election cycle, is it's, like you said before, untouchable. But whenever we see the federal government, it's very far from an untouchable account whenever it comes to Social Security.
Right. So it gets borrowed from constantly or taken from. Yeah. But I mean, it's untouchable from our perspective. We can't touch it. But,
Exactly.
And I think it should be. I think it should be untouchable, period. But, of course, they tend to borrow from things. But the nature of, are we... I believe in helping. I believe in a social safety net because, I live on the edge of a downtown where we have a lot of blight, and it's a mini Rust Belt city, and there's a lot of people...
No doubt.
That have fallen through the cracks.
We talked quite a bit about that last week with Steve Horowitz, the Ball State economist, talking about the changes Muncie has gone through in recent years, where they've gone from being an auto manufacturer with massive job growth and guys working 2 or 3 shifts at full production to where we got a city that's lost a third of its population in the last 30 years.
Yeah,
and it's aging.
The whole bootstraps, pulling yourself up analogy is, I've been in those areas enough to know that not everybody can pull themselves up, and I think that a social safety net, and I believe in I do believe in a nationalized healthcare system. I think government can serve. I think it's our duty to participate in government to make sure it doesn't go corrupt. I'm very anti-government corruption, and I'm very government reform minded, and I really believe it should be managed by all of us. And I think that corruption happens when we don't get involved and we don't participate in government, and we have voting percentages that are 35% average at the midterm elections. But that being said, if we're participating in government, government can serve as the buffer between us and, like, for instance, the large multinational corporations that don't have the moral center that we do for our own people. And so we can use that as a tool as the go-between. So
yeah, and once again, this is still a national topic, but I think that has a lot to do, in my personal belief, it has a lot to fall back on unions. So my personal opinion is that there's nothing more capitalist and there's nothing more that coincides with a free market than union representation against corporations. And in my personal belief, I've been a member of 2 unions now, is that the more that we see government kind of step in with the things that they do against businesses, unions and union representation has actually been on a steady decline as those things go up.
Yeah.
So you can make the argument that correlation does not equal causation, but in this case, I truly believe it does, because the more that people see that type of thing from the government, the more they think, oh, well, why do I need a union representation? I think that's a big issue that coincides with that.
I agree completely. Go right ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna ask you if you had any major disagreements with Bernie Sanders being a Berniecrat.
I line quite pretty straight up with Bernie's. The one area of platform that I have that he doesn't agree with, it would be term limits, which I guess is, and I hesitantly promote term limits. I wish that we wouldn't need term limits, but I think we've gotten to a point right now where we're not being served well without them. I know some of the original, founders were concerned about unlimited congressional terms, and I think we've seen some of that come back to haunt us. Are there good people who can stay in there for 40 years? Absolutely. Are there people who, I think those good people who can stay in there for 40 years could also have moved around in different government positions and still served and still been a big help to us.
So in your race for the Indiana legislature, are you proposing term limits for state senator or state representatives?
I am, yeah. I think it's popular with people in my district, and I think that the way things are right now with money and corruption and in our elected offices and in government all throughout the different state processes up to national, I think that term limits would be a quick way to jump in and take back control.
So we term limit most of the county offices, the sheriffs, to two terms. We term limit our clerks, our auditors, even the governor has a 2-term limit, and the statewide. So for the legislative, are you saying 2 terms for each one, or what's where are you at?
I think 8 years, so 2 terms for Senate and
4 for House.
yeah.
Okay,
yeah. But that's just a rant.
Yeah,
Right.
seems to be the
That's a
consensus.
starting point.
That's a starting point. Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's learn a little bit more about your business. You're in downtown Muncie, and you've got a very nice building, a full plate glass storefront on Main Street?
Main and Mulberry.
Yeah.
Yep, right down in the 100 block of Main.
So you're kind of on the north. I guess it's the northeast quadrant of downtown Muncie.
Mm-hmm.
Right next to one of the big bank buildings, and it's a very nice spot.
Thanks.
11 years you've been there. I didn't realize you've only been on my radar about 2. So for a guy that's worked in Muncie forever, social media probably helped you out, because before social media, you weren't on my radar.
Yeah, and as a small business, it's not always wise to sink a lot of money into an advertising campaign, especially if you don't know if it's going to work. And social media has been a great boon for that. We jumped on it early. But it still can take a while to reach everybody.
So then the kind of the things that set you apart and make you unique is that you locally source an awful lot of what you have. So you've got relationships with local farmers. I think we talked the Beckers in Moreland, Indiana. You've had some stuff with them.
We have, yes, in the past. Yep.
And then some other local farms. So you're taking, I would assume, fruits and vegetables, meats, those sorts of things, bring them in, and you're a distribution point for people. Yeah,
and we have a lot simpler process than the big corporate stores, and that's been our goal. Is to, when we opened up, we had several goals. One of them was to provide access to organic producers to be able to sell their products, because our farm and we started a farmers market in downtown Muncie. We ran for 3 years, and our farm and the other farmers that we knew were all having problems selling everything that we produced, and then you'd spend several days a week, 2, 3, maybe 4 days a week trying to sell your products, and you need to be on the farm, you need to be working. And so we were like, boy, if there was just a grocery store where we could drop off our products, know they were going to be sold, and then get back to the farm instead of having to stand all day and sell them.
Yeah, that's really cool. Up to 40 different farmers and producers for things is what you said on your website, and those are the people that provide your groceries, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome.
That's we wanted to provide access to the consumer, and so that's where we are 11 years later, and we've expanded into the deli. We've done it in chunks. So we started with the store, then started the deli, and then we did home delivery, and so we do free home delivery with a $35 minimum. And
Chase, what do you do for grocery shopping now? What's your go-to?
Oh, I go to Kroger.
So what if I told you that this guy can deliver your groceries to your house? You don't have to do the click list thing. You don't have to show up. He can just deliver them right to you.
We just expanded into Newcastle.
Yeah, which is great.
I saw that. I actually have like 2 friends before I even knew that you ran it that were like kept posting about how awesome your service is. I'm like, wow, that's better even than ClickList. Like,
yeah, it's all based on convenience, so you can order online and it's automatic payments, and you don't have to be home to receive it. We have an insulated bin. We drop and go.
So you have dairy, meats. I mean,
yeah.
pretty much a full service.
Absolutely.
Whatever I need to have, I can have it home delivered.
Yep, you sure can.
For your deli, do you have like a favorite dish or a dish you would suggest for like a person just coming for the first time? Or
we kind of are known. We've gotten written up several times in some, even actually in an international publication, The Guardian, about our Cubano, and we make a pork belly Cubano. So we slow roast pork belly, and we slice it really thick, and then we have our own secret Cubano sauce, which is a little spicy and a little mustardy, and then it's got Swiss cheese and pickle and a layer of ham and
that's awesome.
And then on our bread, and then when we press it in that panini press, it gets crispy on the outside and it's hot and gooey on the inside.
I knew I should have eaten dinner before this.
That's probably the
we're
one
gonna
that we're
have to
known.
make a trip up to Muncie.
We're also known for a lot of our veggie stuff too. There's a lot of people that appreciate. We do a lot of creative things because we have a lot of fresh produce and we do a lot of cool stuff.
My favorite vegetable is celery. So I don't know what you got in the celery department, but I'm big. Like I cook all the time with celery. I just eat it raw. I love putting the lettuce pieces in my salads. And
the lettuce leaves of celery.
The lettuce pieces. They're lettuce pieces. You make salads out of lettuce. They're lettuce pieces.
So celery is part of, the trinity for soups is garlic, celery, and onion.
If anybody ever watched Emerald, you know that.
Yeah.
Big fan of the trinity.
I actually got big on celery after I watched a documentary on how chicken McNuggets are made. And they use celery as like...
You're talking to the organic farmer.
I know.
And you're trying to find common ground with him over McDonald's chicken nuggets.
I don't eat McDonald's ever, but like I watched that documentary and like I remembered the taste and I was like, oh, that has celery in it. I need to start cooking with that more. And now I love it. Like,
let me see if I can pivot from that. Chicken and celery go great together.
They do.
I had some chicken wings.
Well. That was a great pivot, by the way.
There you go. All right, so you've been in the news in Muncie for the last year or so. I mean, it's been going on for a little while.
Yeah, a little over a year. I think I know what you're getting to.
You're in this organic grocery space and have been for over a decade in Muncie. Employing Muncieites.
Yes,
Delaware County.
Yes, we are.
Creating jobs.
Yep, paying taxes.
In downtown.
In downtown Muncie.
And there's somebody, was it the city council, county council, who's behind this, or the Economic Development Corporation, who's the magnet here?
Yeah, it was the city, and it was through the economic development arm of the city that...
So they've attracted Fresh Time Grocery Store.
The Redevelopment Commission is what they're called.
The Redevelopment Commission. And they're building a new grocery store on McGalliard, the main east-west thoroughfare in Muncie. And the city gave them some tax breaks that I assume they didn't call up Dave Ring and say, hey, Dave, you need any tax breaks?
Right. No, we didn't get that call. And they were actually given some cash subsidies in the terms of... infrastructure, building roads, and they put up a stoplight for the grocery store on McGalliard because we needed another stoplight on McGalliard if you've been down there. That's really important.
We all consider it to be the expressway of Muncie.
We all want to stop every 20 seconds.
Yes.
And that way people can get in and out of there easier. And, and so when we put together, as I call it, a perfectly reasonable petition asking the Redevelopment Commission, the City Council, and the Mayor to not subsidize a corporate competitor that's not from Muncie and didn't spend 10 years developing a market and working hard to build up, because there was no organic store in town before we did it.
Right.
Then we got over 1,000 signatures on the petition, had a lot of support, a lot of grassroots support. And when we took it to present it to the council meeting, I had my family there and my kids. I was like, look, kids, this is how the process works. You participate in government, and we may not win, but this is part of it. Well, they didn't even accept the petition at the meeting. So...
and that's a 1,000 signature petition. That's not no 350 signature.
Right.
I'm going to take us too far down the rabbit hole.
And it's one of our constitutional rights is to petition the government, right?
Absolutely.
And
they just don't have to listen to you. You learn that lesson.
Right, and they don't have to accept it, apparently.
Yeah.
They can, and the city...
Was it a hand petition or online? How'd you do it?
It was online, and I printed it up, and I had stacks for each of the council members and the mayor, and everybody had their comments with their addresses, so it was
legit.
It was a legit,
yeah.
So, and I handed it to, or went to hand it to them, and they said, "No, that's not an official petition, and you don't." And he instructed the council members not to take it.
Hear ye,
my gosh.
hear ye.
So,
I have an official petition from the 21st century.
If I'm getting all this right, it's not that you're against the Fresh Time grocery store coming.
No, competition is fine.
You're fine with that, and like you said, you're involved in capitalism, so you're fine with the competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're against the government protectionism, the government subsidies, and everything that goes into trying to get a big grocery store and a big supplier like this into Muncie.
Yeah, the government picking winners
rips
and
away
losers
from that competition.
Yes.
Like it totally slaughters any idea of any type of free market competition, which is horrid.
Absolutely. And that's exactly our position on it, was that, you know, the government shouldn't be involved in picking winners or losers, playing one over another. And we couldn't get any clear answer on why they thought it was okay.
Essentially, what happened is they took your money, because you pay taxes in Delaware County and Muncie.
Yes,
and then they said, "Let me make some improvements for your competitor to move in." Thanks, Dave. Hope you keep on making money with your business too.
They didn't say that last part.
Oh, well, I can tell you that already you have a lot of common ground with libertarians on this issue. This is where we would all, we're all together on some of the, the socialized medicine thing. You're on Bernie Island, but
right.
we definitely have common ground on this one.
I get
and
that.
if you talk to my friend Micah Haynes in Vincennes County, they already have a socialist libertarian caucus in their Libertarian Party. I'm like, there's 14 of you? Like, how many is the caucus?
Knox
4?
County.
Common ground.
Look at you over there inventing counties.
Common ground is what it's all about, and I think that there would be less people disillusioned with bigger government if we were taking better care of it.
So let's learn a little bit about the campaign. You're on the ballot, and you're going to be, I guess, looking for votes in May.
Mm-hmm. May 8th. Yeah.
You've got just a little over 2 months now between now and the first election day.
Yes,
and you're not the only candidate, so but it's an open seat, right? It's Senator Eckerty is not there, so it's a wide open primary. Both sides.
He's not running for re-election. Yeah, that's correct.
So how's have you guys been doing some Jefferson Jackson dinners? What's the campaign been looking like?
So we're pretty much running outside of the party structure, and that's our choice. We want to run a different kind of campaign, a very issue focused campaign, which isn't something that you always see. And there's elements in Muncie, if you follow Muncie politics, that we didn't want to be associated with.
You're trying to stay out of prison.
Yeah, basically. Yes, and that's the
Please
short answer.
don't investigate me, FBI. You're busy in Florida.
and plus, honestly, as soon as I turned in that petition, all the I had been friendly with a lot of them, and they just kind of circled the wagons and said, "Oh, you can't petition us. We're." You have to stay on the inside. So as soon as that happened, there was no more friendliness or anything.
Yeah.
So
all of a sudden, it's cutthroat.
You're right. So
have the other area, like that's Delaware County, has Madison County or Henry County? Have you been interacting with those county parties at all, or is it just Delaware County's been the?
I haven't interacted with Henry County at all. I know that my opponent is in good with. The Madison County group, and I haven't approached them. Maybe I should.
Yeah, at least have one county on your side, man. You're in Newcastle today, right?
I know. So I'm going to go talk to Henry County tomorrow.
You mentioned whenever we set up this group chat for the for preparing for the show, you actually mentioned running outside, just like you had said, running outside of the establishment. And I thought that was really interesting because it's like every single Republican that's been running for a national office that we've had on the show has brought up being anti-establishment. And I hadn't heard somebody on the left side say that before.
There is I guess it's not largely hitting all the media outlets, but there's a wave of progressive candidates running all over the country, and even many in Indiana, and they're challenging in the primary, and a lot of them are getting pushed back from the party.
If you look at the Democrat caucus in the Indiana State Senate right now, probably the establishment needs a little bit of help.
No,
because all of the state senators could fit in this studio, and it's a third bedroom in a 1920s row house in Henry County.
1914.
Yeah,
it's right. So it's not a huge caucus.
How can they say we're doing it right? Yeah. That's essentially when I announced and started talking to some local people. I'm not going to name names, but they initially
it's always more fun if you do.
I know. Initially, the response was really positive, and then they kind of came back and said that, we don't really want a primary in that race. You don't have to spend money on it. And I was like, well, I really believe in the process, and I really think that people need choices. And since the Democrats aren't exactly slaying elections here, then maybe we should have some choices for the position,
Absolutely.
And let the people decide. And then the stronger candidate moves forward and maybe does better in the general. So
that right there is exactly what makes a constitutional republic like ours work.
Yeah,
that is the foundation of our system, and I think it's really honorable of you to step up and fight up against that. It's really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm having fun with it. That's the whole goal. Stuff like this, I think this is phenomenal because it's not easy when you're outside the establishment to find places to get out there and talk about the issues.
Yep.
So,
well, this will be obviously this podcast is available on iTunes. We are on Indiana Talks, which is the number one progressive radio station in Indiana. Believe it or not, we're on Indiana Talks Saturdays, Sundays at noon. Of course, we have the Facebook live feed, and people can go back and watch that. And then we're on YouTube as well in glorious high definition.
Yep.
So lots and lots of ways to watch and communicate with the Boss Hog of Liberty.
Whenever you're chilling at home on Saturday and Sunday, right around that noontime, you can just go to your Amazon Alexa and say, "Hey Alexa, play Indiana Talks on TuneIn," and you will hear our beautiful voices.
Or you can tell your little Google Chrome or your Google Home device, "Okay, Google."
See, this is a podcast divided here.
Or you can say, "Okay, Google, play Boss Hog of Liberty on YouTube," and it plays the latest show.
Now, you realize that we just hacked everybody
that's listening
Amazon.
right now. It just happened, yeah. That's why I did it.
So, tell me, Dave, do you think that the Trump administration, the Trump and Pence being in the White House, do you think that that has helped or hurt your overall chances if you were to win the primary?
That's a good question. I think it's probably too soon to tell. I think a lot of people are expecting a big blue turnout in 18. I'm hoping that translates into the primary too. As you know, the midterm primary is generally a really low turnout election. So right. I'm hoping for a big turnout there, and I'm hoping for a big turnout in the general. And I think that we've seen some indications that there's going to be a big blue wave. So we'll see what happens, but it's too early to tell. And a lot of, as you know, a lot of things depend on the economy and what's going on at the time and national issues.
So, if you are elected to the state senate, the legislature gets to draw their own districts, and the district you're in now is crescent shaped at best. I guess it's a big C. Yeah, kind of carving out the rural areas around Anderson and Muncie.
Yeah, it's got some scribbles on it, like it's written by a toddler.
So it carved out a nice conservative district for the current senator. 2022 will be the first year, so we've got a couple more cycles before we switch to new maps. So this is the time where people start talking about gerrymandering and redistricting and what's going to happen. There was a bill before the Indiana General Assembly that just got killed this last week that was going to deal with redistricting. Where are you at on that? What's ideal to you if you're a part of the process? What should happen?
Well, we definitely need gerrymandering reform. It needs to be redistricting, and as I tell my kids when we talk about some of these issues, is like none of these issues are simple or we would have fixed them by now. But, going back to the 60s when we decided that, we had to redraw districts every 10 years based on census and population, we've never really laid out a complete set of rules on how to redraw districts fairly. And so there's three basic different ways that people talk about redrawing districts, and one of them is with a nonpartisan, neutral commission,
right? Which is the Iowa model. Iowa does that now.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? How do you draw a district that is nonpartisan and just overall more better, for lack of a better term? Like how do you do that? What constitutes that?
So it's based on population, and it's also based on the type of population. So it's supposed to be fair. It's supposed to be fair racially, and it's supposed to be fair size-wise. What happened was I think a period of time we hadn't redrawn districts. Some of them hadn't been redrawn for like 40 and 50 years. And so that was when the rural migration was happening to cities. And so you had
underrepresented urban areas and places like Henry County having more political power than they should.
Yeah, you had very few people to one single representative. And so that's supposed to be kept in balance. It would be a lot easier for us if we didn't redraw districts, but I certainly understand the desire to keep things fair and equal. So the second model is the computerized model of redrawn districts, and I think that has a lot of potential. Using a logarithm you put in all the different variables, and the computer draws out the districts. One of the concerns that I hear from constituents is just that they want to have a basic understanding of where the lines of their district is.
Yeah.
And so Delaware County, part of Delaware County is in the district, part of Henry County is in the district, part of Madison County, and it's like, it would be nice if you could put whole counties in districts whenever possible, to make, just so people could have an understanding of.
I'm in Henry County, I'm in this district. Just simple. Everybody knows what county they're in. Everybody should know what district they're in.
So when we drew last time, there were the Secretary of State, Todd Rokita, before he was a congressman, he was Secretary of State. He had come up with a plan, Chase, that basically was going to be nesting. So if you have a state Senate district that's basically, you have 50 state Senate districts and 100 state representative districts. In each state Senate district, there was 2 House of Representatives districts drawn in there. That was the way they set it up, so that you knew that everybody that had that state representative or had that state senator had the same state rep, or whatever. You just rolled up. It was very simple, very easy, and then they threw that away. When they did make an improvement, at least when they gave us these districts. When the first maps that came out in 2010, 2011, where we're sitting right now was in the same state Senate district as Irvington, Indiana, all the way to Center Township. So downtown Indianapolis from, 50 miles east. And if you could tell me what in the world we had in common, it was, basically the I-70 and Indiana 40 corridor was what they followed.
Yeah.
They have to have population centers that are there at least in common. Your area, Albany and somebody in Blountsville at least are rural, right?
Right.
There's at least that similar commonality, but it's very difficult to explain to people why they're carved up the way they are.
Well, and District 26 is a perfect example because it was drawn to be rural and suburban, so that was a district that was designed to not hold. So it's a 60-40 split, and it's supposed to stay that way. 60% Republican, 40% Democrat, and that's what they want. In one district that isn't competitive at all. So. Pennsylvania, you can't go back to how you said, how do we redraw these without bias? Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court ruled and said that they were going to redraw the districts because they were no longer, fair and equal access to voting. And so they did. I don't know if you ever saw the districts in Pennsylvania. They were actually probably worse than Indiana's in the way that they were gerrymandered. And as we all know, that was a 50... it's pretty close to a 50-50 split. It's one of the states that swings both ways.
Trump won Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was but the districts were aligned to where I believe it was 7 out of 10 districts were going Republican instead of Democrat, even though the split is about 50-50, and it was So they redrew those districts, and it's expected to be more equal and fair. And that's, I suppose, Supreme Court is not the ideal way to redraw districts. We want more of a nonpartisan commission, and there's debate on whether or not you can actually have a nonpartisan commission. I think that you can, but I think a lot of people favor the logarithm method. But actually, third-party people, and this is a little bit complicated to get into, but the ranked choice, have you heard of that?
Yeah, so you go in and you take top 2 or something,
Yeah.
You go in, you have everybody in a catch-all pool, basically, and you don't have primaries. Right now in Indiana, we bang this drum all the time.
Oh, yeah.
We also bang the drum on Sunday sales, and we won that one for you as libertarians, so we're going to bang this drum.
We're working on
this
weed
primary
next.
that we're going to have in
Give
May.
me the weed.
This primary we're going to have in May, everybody pays for. So you had to pay for fresh time, and I, probably won't ever use it, and it's competing against you. I, as a libertarian candidate, I pay for my own state convention, my own county convention that I'll go to.
Yep.
We have to pay for the Democrats and Republicans to have all of their people show up and to pick their candidates instead of having it at a private convention. So it's, if we could eliminate the convention system completely.
Maine is supposed to do some ranked choice elections. Did you hear that?
No.
Yeah, they haven't actually put it into effect, but they voted on it, and they're deliberating on it. So it's an interesting way.
So how often does something like this happen, where they redraw the districts?
10 years.
So,
Every 10 years.
Once every 10 years, unless you're like Pennsylvania and you get sued and you have to change. You get your hand forced.
Yeah, it's
Right.
based
And-
on the census every 10 years.
And you brought up suing lawsuits and things. I don't know if any of the listeners remember this, or if you guys remember this, but a few months ago, after I went to one of the Newcastle City Council meetings, they actually voted on a proposal to sign a petition as the city to give to the State House against gerrymandering. So it was in support of gerrymandering reform in this latest short session in the legislature, and our city signed it. A lot of cities signed this petition, and unfortunately, it still died.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I just read in this Indy Star article that Mr. David Long, the Republican representative from Fort Wayne, said that he just flat out came out and said that like the majority of people in his caucus are against redistricting reform. It blows my mind that a public official would come out against it. Like, and I think that comes with a lot of people just aren't educated on it.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
Yeah, and it's an issue that confuses people. But if you sit down and you spend about 10 minutes on it, you get a pretty good grasp of what's going on with gerrymandering and redistricting, and I think that's what it's going to take. We're going to have to force it through, and we're going to have to elect people that are that are against gerrymandering, and that's what it's going to take.
Absolutely.
So another platform item you have is something that is finally sailing through the General Assembly, and that's the CBD oil. Mm-hmm. And we were talking before the microphones were turned on. It's a product you carry in your stores.
Yeah, we've sold it in our store. We've been following the laws and the law changes closely, and
it's on the shelves, off the shelves.
Right. Yeah. Put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off.
Trying to stay on the good side of the excise cops.
Yeah, and it's important. We want to be in compliance with the law. The people really came together on this one and demanded it, and I think you have to give credit to WTHR. I think they pretty much led the charge on investigating why all at once excise had taken upon themselves to go out and enforce a ban on that. There again, 49 other states, totally legal, totally fine. Yeah. This is us, and I think the lawmakers are going to expect a big pat on the back for doing something that should be up.
Thanks for fixing something you said you fixed last year.
Yeah, yeah.
So the magic number, I guess, is 0.3% THC. Mm-hmm. Any more than that, and then I guess it's a scheduled narcotic or a scheduled drug.
Right.
Is that like the industry standard, or can you accidentally in a book order, oh shoot, I ordered the 0.6 THC and we're all going to jail?
I think that's the industry standard. I think they pretty much have hit that because that's hemp.
Right.
And hemp is pretty much is going to be below that 0.3 or right at the 0.3 level. And I think that if you get above that, it's got to be added in most cases. So it's right. I think that's a pretty good level.
So the Senate bill
manufacturers I talked to.
So the Senate Bill 52 that actually deals with industrial hemp and CBD oil just passed through the House. Mm-hmm. So they're saying it's going to be sent to a summer study committee, and then it will end up on the governor's desk if it makes it through that committee.
I saw that. Not quite as sailing as we wanted. But
yeah. And
by the Indiana legislature standards, sailing
with the anchor down.
So Melanie Wright, by the way, she totally called that whenever she came on our show. She was like, "Yeah, with the CBD oil, I think it's a good thing, but I'm telling you guys right now that it's going to end up in a summer study committee, and whether it makes it out of there or not, it's that's a toss up." She totally called that, and that was pretty cool that she did. But and then the House Bill 1475 actually introduced industrial hemp, and apparently we have a thing called the State Seed Commissioner that
of course we
that adopts rules to implement the laws that concern industrial hemp. I mean, do you know anything about this? Like,
no,
what is a seed commissioner as a farmer? Like that, I had no idea.
This has got to be a new thing, I guess. I don't know anything about it. I'm hoping that that's a new thing since I don't know anything about it. Look, hemp used to be grown in this state. I'm not sure what year it became a Schedule 1 and we stopped being able to produce it, but it was a huge farm crop. I have some old photographs of what was the advent of tractors, so it had to be, 40s when they became widespread. And they grew a lot of hemp, and it was used for rope, and it was used in the war effort, and it was used for industrial purposes, and it's got a very high oil content, so it can be used for paper and clothing and a lot of different things, and it's just outrageous that we've wrapped it up for so long.
So you're yes on hemp.
Yes on hemp.
You're yes on THC.
On CBD.
On CBD. I'll get there. Your yes on CBD.
Trick question.
Gotcha. The medical cannabis, you're a yes, I assume?
I am a yes on medical cannabis, you know.
And then you're going to say, I'm running for public office, so I'm against recreational?
I have not said I'm against recreational. You know, look, it's a matter of time, right? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's just like, I mean, Sunday alcohol sales, that was a matter of a really long time. But we all assumed that at some point we were gonna have our rights to be able to consume and buy alcohol on the Sunday restored.
Yeah, we'll have to wait until about 6 years after everybody else in the nation does it.
So how long are we going to have to wait? I mean, and meanwhile, Colorado is, in 2015, they taxed it and put $80 million into their school building fund.
Right.
You know, doesn't solve every problem.
Yeah, but Muncie has gone the other direction, and we just took one of our schools and turned it into a jail. So it's going to be fine.
Right. Yeah.
So we should pass.
So our current policies are working.
Yeah.
So we should pass weed for the kids. Is that what we're saying?
Yes. And it, you know, there's been so much stuff in the news about school safety. Oh, look, we have a revenue fund now.
All right.
Well, you know, I'm very passionate about public education, and you know, as we've taken away revenue from schools, we haven't replaced it. You know, when we capped property taxes, okay, fine, but we didn't. We said, okay, well, you guys can create a new tax if you want to, a local option income tax. Well, we all know how popular new taxes are.
We got one here for public safety,
right? And
they added 0.25% to my to my income tax,
and they've been really hesitant to do that for schools. I don't, you know, we should be giving this. We should be giving the districts, you know, more revenue streams, because we've taken away large amounts and we've lost. Our public schools are in danger right now, and we need to be fully funding them and embracing them, because that levels the playing field for kids.
So what's your solution? Do you think we just need to adjust the tax caps up, or do you want to say we're going to add an extra % to our income taxes, or what's your solution to that one?
I think we need to look at options. I'm not saying that it should be tied to property taxes. I just think that revenue needs to be available. You know, whether we're looking at new forms of industry that we can make legal, that we can tax, or you know, we've got a comprehensive plan to wrap up rural economies. You know, we're going to have to figure it out. We're going to have to come together. And one thing we know for sure is that schools are underfunded and teachers are undervalued.
So speaking of schools, you talked about rural communities. One thing that you've talked about on your platform, on your website, is increased CAFO regulations, which is confined animal feeding operations, and that's been a big issue. It was a big issue whenever we had Tom Saunders, our state rep, on, and it's been a big issue in Delaware County as well. On your website, you said that CAFOs lead to lower property values, they pollute the air and the water, and can lead to a decreased population in rural areas. With that in mind, with your opinion on that, what regulations do you think could fix those issues, if there are any?
Well, I don't know that that's an issue for me personally that I can say is fixable. I think that the CAFO system, the confined feeding operation, whether it's CAFO or CFO, is not a good system to be producing our food in. I personally believe that you know, pasture-based systems are creating a higher quality of food. They're putting more people to work on the land. They're better for the economy. They're better. People want to live next to them. These are industries, and a lot of times they're owned by multinational corporations. The animals, in this case, in this 8,000 hog, I've heard 8 to 10,000 hog farm, wouldn't be owned by the guy whose land they're going to be on.
We're talking about a proposed operator in Delaware County.
Yeah, in Delaware County, there's been a permit applied for 8 to 10,000 hog confined feeding operation, and it would be a confined animal feeding operation. But I don't think that they have a discharge permit, which makes it a confined feeding operation. Right,
exactly. And they're already, you know, the CAFOs, they're already licensed. If we're getting into my personal opinion, I I don't know that much about it. I live in town. I'm not a farmer.
Yeah.
I really wish that Cade Coger could have been here
But
for this episode.
He's not a real farmer.
Yeah. He's not a real farmer. We've already
I
discussed
was on the
that.
fence the whole time, and then when I heard that, I was like, I knew it.
Yeah. But CAFOs are actually, they're farm operations that have more than 1,000 animal units is how we define them, and that's how we come up with the licensing. But my biggest thing is that, like, if you see the pictures online, of course you're going to come across the PETA articles that say, these are horrible, they're mistreating the animals, these farmers, they just kick and abuse their cows all day long. They don't actually care about them. But then you talk to actual farmers. You talk to people like Cade. You talk to the Neesons that live out in Louisville, and that's not the case. They love their animals. They really want to take care of them the best that they can. And then I have this nagging question that's in the back of my head that says, how else are we going to be able to feed? The 7 billion people on the planet.
Sure.
It's the scaling up issue where, how can you produce enough pork or beef or poultry in your pasture solution, or is that a niche market?
No, yeah, and those are all good points and good questions. Yes, we can produce enough on our pasture-based operations. One of the issues that is that continually nags at, you can see it in the American healthcare system, you can see it in our nutrition, you can see it in our farms, is that we have an addiction to super cheap food. And we heavily subsidize the production of food in this country. So super cheap corn and super cheap soy is fed in these confined feeding operations. Yep. So that lowers their costs dramatically. And that makes the production model go large in order to sell super cheap pork, right? Yeah. And the dairy industry is virtually collapsing in the United States right now. Super cheap dairy.
Milk prices have gone way down, but I guess it's like an economic side as well, right? Because you want to have lower cost food so that you can feed people that aren't as affluent. Not everybody is able to spend $13 on a pound on beef, whereas they can spend $1.99 on poultry. A boneless, skinless chicken breast.
Right.
It's that it's that balance you have, and I don't know how you scale up unless you also enact some of the other social safety net where we're just going to go ahead and give everybody food for free. I don't know how you get that to wash.
We're going to have to do something to help develop a sustainable food system in this country. And I used to think that we could do it just on market demand. I don't believe that anymore. I think that we're going to have to subsidize it because we've lost all of our infrastructure. We've lost so many shared cooperative processing things that used to be in every town. Our rural areas are decimated. We don't have an agrarian culture anymore. You've got one person for every 10,000 acres, farming. And the quality. So let's back up. Early 1900s, an American used to spend 30% of their income on food. Now that's down to somewhere between 8 and 10%.
Right.
Yep.
But we pay way more in taxes to subsidize large corporations that aren't, growing our food in a responsible way, and then we have higher healthcare costs. We have high fructose corn syrup in everything, and we have childhood obesity and all of these other issues because our food, our diets in this country have gotten so bad, and we've got people struggling to find out how they can eat less.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad that you brought that up because I think that one of the things, and say what you will about this, but one of the things that this boxed lunch, this boxed meal plan that the Trump administration put out replacing SNAP, one of the great things that I think has come out of it is talking about the pricing of healthy foods and talking about the obesity epidemic amongst America's poor population because it's huge and it's a disaster, and our current system has caused an abortion with the horrible nutrition that we are feeding the people who rely on assistance. It's terrible. Something needs done. If you go back about 18 months in the Courier-Times, I wrote a letter to the editor about farming subsidies, what we can do to help lower the cost of fresh produce, and the things that I think that we can do as far as a free market standard. And now that we're talking about this, I might just put this in a blog post on the Boss Hog of Liberty website. Because I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, the Farm Bill is the iron triangle that's so hard to break. So you've got the Farm Bill that comes out of Congress, right? And that money for a long time went in direct payments. Now a lot of it goes towards crop insurance subsidies, which is they've just shifted it from one column to the next. But it goes to the farmer. The farmer doesn't get to keep much of that. He passes that on to chemical companies and seed companies, which are really expensive, and you're locked into those producers. You're locked into the seed company, and you're locked into the chemical that goes with it. And then that money, in turn, goes from the lobbyists back to Congress. Congress votes through the Farm Bill, and it just goes back and forth. And it's been locked in for a really long time.
A vicious circle.
And they balance it with the they always attach it to the food stamps.
You put SNAP in it, yeah. And
then it gets voted through because nobody wants to lose either one, and then it's vicious. But there is a future in sustainable agriculture, and there's a lot of farmers out there that are doing amazing work, that are finding ways to do it. And if we put 1/10 of the investment into sustainable agriculture that we put into industrial, we would see amazing innovations. We'd see better quality food, and we'd see more people back to work in rural areas.
So I'm always an advocate for markets. And I just literally yesterday PayPal'd money to the lady that raises my hog, raises hogs for me. So I buy a side of a hog once a year or twice a year. Have it, so she raises it here in Henry County. I have it processed in Winchester, and I come back, and it's exactly the way I want it. So that works for me.
Yeah.
And it's a choice I get to make. I still don't know how it's gonna scale. This is the sustainable pasture process. That said, if the market, if everybody goes out and they say they want to go with that process or that route, then you're going to get pricing that's going to signal to the market, hey, I need to raise more, or more people need to get into that space, and it's going to go.
All right. Well, we had, and you know how this works nationwide. We had some really good momentum on. We've kind of been through this at the farm stand on the whole, farm to table and organic movement. And there was a lot of education, and people were really turned on to understanding like what companies like Monsanto have done, with controlling operations and suing farmers and all these different things. And then they sunk $300 to $400 million into a PR campaign to change their image and to confuse and to make organic and sustainable not look as good, or to make it a gray area. And we're seeing the effects. Like it's a complicated world to just have it develop from the free market only. Engaged, educated consumers are the same issue that we have in the voting booth. Getting people to show up to vote is just as hard as getting people to think about where their food comes from.
Yeah, but I'd look at that the same way that I look at the wind issue, and I look at the renewable resources issue, in the fact that we subsidize these issues so much. And it was actually a study that was done in the USSR that the more the government poured money into things, they would pour money into one single product. So we're pouring money right now into one set of industrial wind turbines because that's what we want. That's what the consensus has been is the best. And over time, it steadily increases, right? The quality of that product steadily increases. With a free market, however, if you don't do that, things have a tendency to cliff off, and then they jump right back down to where it's horrible, we don't have anything, and then they go up again, and then at the very end, we end up with a product that is much better, that has saved the government and the taxpayers a lot of money. And I think that same logic can be applied to farming and to using sustainable farming methods.
I think it can too. Let me back up and say, when I say we subsidize or we put money into it, that can involve, we have to be really smart about it, and that can involve education, like our land-grant universities, Purdue.
Yeah.
They could do much more. Their organic and sustainable ag programs are token. And because of that, Indiana lags far behind in the Midwest between Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, in organic acreage per capita and number of organic farms.
Are there specific programs or projects that you want to see Purdue agriculture involved in?
Yeah, well, I'd like to. We need, and I'm working on a bill right now with some people who are in the know that we could potentially put forward at a later date. But we need a central agency in the state that can do everything from certify to help educate producers. What I see in the organic world is a lot of burnout. So you get into it, you work really hard for 10 years, and you have trouble selling your product, and you have trouble finding exactly what people want and what shape and what form. I mean, It's complicated. And then you give up, and we see that a lot. So getting in there and helping new startups, and then also helping the producers who have made it to that next level, giving them financial training, and making sure that they can make it long term and pass it on. We could do that through, and I say certification, because we need a central certifying unit, and they can work really well in that, from that form, to also doing educational seminars and conferences and working with people on the farms too.
So why you want the state to provide that certification, I guess, and that's who's gonna be on the other side of that? You want to show that to consumers, saying, "Hey, I'm state certified as having state certified organic, state certified. I've got financial planning." What are you looking for from them?
Well, I mean, I'm always looking at it from the organic perspective. I mean, I think we're in this battle right now to kind of take our organic standards back. They're constantly under attack from big ag and big food to try and water down the standards, and that's been going on since the mid 2000s. So,
do you guys not have somebody like UL, like Underwriters Laboratories? It's not a government organization.
We use the USDA organic label,
right.
and the standards are constantly getting changed through Congress and through writers and bills attached to other things. And
right.
Y'all just need an independent organization instead of
we had that.
Giving your authority to Congress.
We had that, and they were largely based around, that's what we had before the USDA. And then we had this call that people wanted, could you trust one thing from one state to another when you were crossing state lines? And there were different, right. California certified organic might do things differently from the Ohio Ecological Food and Farm Association to the Indiana certified,
If you can trust one government, you can trust them all, right?
And the USDA is no joke, man. Like they're serious business. I've watched them. I have personally watched one man in the USDA office force a meat. Well, I guess I shouldn't go too far into this, but I've seen them force companies to throw away thousands and thousands of dollars of meat because one piece had a piece of plastic in it from a conveyor belt. Like,
yeah, you should talk
that's no joke, dude.
Greg Gunthorpe is one of the first small farms, if not the first, to build a certified USDA processing plant on his farm so he could sell pork and chicken across state lines so he can go to Chicago. And otherwise you have to sell it. If you're state certified, you have to sell it right inside of Indiana. Can't cross state lines.
Yeah, so I want to bring up something that Cade said. Cade is watching on the live stream, and he's a farmer.
Sure.
Here,
fake farmer, but farmer.
Yeah, fake farmer. But he said his comment on the live stream is, we're looking at almost 10 billion people in the world by 2050. Only 2% of the current population are farmers, and while he agrees that sustainability for the production of our food, as well as the farms themselves, should be the focus, whether you operate out of a CAFO or a pasture-based farm, it is not a good food versus bad food argument between grass-fed/organic to grain-fed.
It says fed, Dakota.
Yeah, grain-fed industrial. he has industrial in quotation marks, animal production. That's just a marketing to justify the higher prices in a freer market. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have some fundamental disagreements on things. I mean, 82% of U.S. farm household income is expected to come from off-farm work this year. 82%.
Yeah, you've got a farmer, and then the farmer's wife has to go to work, and you've got a side gig where you're putting in drain tile, or you're selling seed, you're doing something on the side.
So, like we said about Democrats in Indiana, it's obviously not completely working, the way it is now. Then when you have number to represent egg industry where less than 200 farms produce 95% of the eggs in this country, and 34% of the hogs are produced on company farms such as Tyson or Hermel.
I mean, who knows, by 2050 we could all just be growing meat in a lab somewhere and none of this is going to matter.
I've heard stories about that. That is
I mean, they say it's
I will not be partaking in that.
Oh, man. I just watched a documentary on that the other day, and I had no idea how close we actually are to that.
What's the documentary called? Because I've heard a lot of stuff about it, and it always freaks me out.
See, I don't remember, but it was on Hulu. It came across my recommendations, and it was eye-opening because I thought, oh yeah, that's like the Jetsons, way in the future, 3018, not now, but this was saying in like the next 12 to 15 years.
If you look at I had family that grew up in Dunkirk, and Dunkirk's a perfect example, not to pick on them or anything, but I had family that went back there for a long time, and that used to be a thriving little town, and granted they've lost some industry. But it was also
a glass town, right?
It was a glass town, and it was a farm hub. And you look at these towns that have lost their agrarian farming culture, and you've got decimated populations that number one, the populations are way lower, so they can't support the businesses like they could. And you've got the people who are left there that basically can't get out, or maybe they would have, or they like it there, but there's no opportunity, there's no jobs. And, the opioid use is way up and the meth use is up. And in some ways, it's the disintegration of the culture and the agrarian culture that has led to what, the cultural term would be cultural disintegration, where things just aren't working anymore.
Absolutely.
So we've just got a couple of minutes left. Let's kind of highlight on those two things. You've got areas that we'll say need redevelopment, economic redevelopment of some sort.
Yeah.
And then this void that's been created because of different. We can assign blame a number of different ways. We've got this opioid deal wherever we've got horrible heroin and painkiller issues. In your campaign, those are both things that you've talked about and you've been focused on. What's the Dave Ring solution, or what are you bringing to the table to the State House on economic development and on the opioid issue?
Yeah, I definitely don't have the solution, but I have ideas that at that I think of, and as I've said before, I think education and our schools are really important in this fight because we can start educating more kids at the K through 12 level about the dangers of just what a dead end road this is to go down. And I think if we just can hammer that through, that we'll see these kids who are on the fringe and kind of cast aside by society for different reasons. Maybe they don't have strong parental roles at home or whatever the case is. You can fall into that opioid trap so easily, and it's one that you just takes one wrong turn. And I think if we can talk more about that to kids, about how it's one bad decision that can ruin the rest of your life.
So do you see that, like, we have a DARE program in a lot of schools still? Do you want to adapt something like that, or what are you thinking? Yeah, no,
I think we need to do it more often and more frequently to more kids until we start seeing the decrease, because right now whatever we're doing isn't working well enough.
Okay.
And we've got to get in and do it more.
And then economic development, you just want them to develop things that are not grocery stores?
You mean in the rural areas? Yeah. Or well, in my economic development for rural areas is based around a sustainable agricultural economy. And as we start producing food again, because if you think about the corn and the soy that's in our rural areas, we don't really eat that, and it's not produced here, so it's an industrial product that's shipped out. And a lot of people think we eat our corn that we see in every field, and we don't eat it. It's either used for
it's fuel, or it goes back in as an animal input,
confined feeding operation, or high fructose corn syrup,
or we turn it into syrup or another product with it.
So we don't, but it's not a food product. And if we could get back into producing our food, then we get all the spin-off businesses from that, whether it's mills, or whether it's bakeries, or whether it's canning, all these different ways that we can create jobs just by producing our own food. And it's not, it's not the popular politician spiel, because it's not an instant answer in 4 years, right? It takes time.
Yeah, you're going to have at least 2 terms to fix all this.
At least 2 terms.
But you're only saying 8, so
I know.
At that, you got to go down.
I'll switch to something else.
You got to go to governor.
So you said on your campaign site, and I have it pulled up, and it says that you support prescriptions for pseudoephedrine, which is, if for those of people who don't know, is what you buy at the grocery
store, cold medicine,
wherever. Yeah, cold medicine, and that's basically how you produce meth. And that's I guess that in this Reason article, and in the latest Reason article, there's a great article in the magazine that was written by Jacob Sullum, and it's about the America's war on drugs, the opioid epidemic, all these things. And the article starts out with a story of a young man who had a bad back, had his final 3 vertebrae fused, and he was given prescription painkillers, and which is one of the leading gateways into stronger drug addiction, or so
Absolutely.
we're told. And so he had to jump through all these hoops to get his painkillers just to live a normal life. And then his state actually implemented pain pill counts to make sure he wasn't abusing them.
Yeah.
And he had forgotten that he had taken a week's worth and put them in his briefcase for a business trip, and ended up getting all of his pain medication taken away for the rest of his life. And
Yeah.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anybody knows a real cut and dry answer. But I do think that it's interesting that you put on your platform the prescription for that. I don't know why I'd never seen it.
The pseudoephedrine thing, that's been up through the legislature before, and it gets fought and voted down.
Well, yeah, so Sudafed is the thing. If I've got a really bad cold, I'm stuffed up, I will go see the pharmacist. He says it's not, you can't just go to the counter and buy Sudafed. You do have to consult with a pharmacist.
Yeah.
Who's a MD, they've got a doctorate of pharmacy or whatever. So you're going to a doctor. They're not giving you a script.
Yeah.
But you have that level of control. Why? I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a minute. Why do I need to go make an appointment to go see my doctor? It's going to cost me $50 to get a script to go get Sudafed that I know that's what I need.
It's supported by doctors that I've talked to, and it's a principle now. We've tried to do this before, and it gets fought by the lobby. The pharmaceutical lobby fights it, right. and they want to keep the sales. A guy like me that just wants Sudafed's fighting it too, just because you're creating a burden. I understand, but I mean, it's not your only option for a cold medicine. And
no, but it's the one that works.
Right. And
at least for me.
That one works for you.
Yeah.
But it's a principle, because we've fought this on a large level based, like I doubt you've been at the State House lobbying about this. It's about greed, has been fighting it at the state level. And
no, that's not that. Yeah, I'm literally the consumer that goes and has, gives his driver's license, and it says, well, sir, you've bought 82% of what you're allowed to buy in the next year of Sudafed, because, it's just.
And it's important to say right now, too, because somebody's sitting at home and saying, well, the pseudoephedrine's coming in from Mexico or from other places right now, black market in large amounts.
Build the wall.
Which is. I'm going to let that one go.
We're not wall builders.
We
don't even like David Barton.
Just fence builders. Right.
3 people got my David Barton joke, and they're laughing their asses off somewhere.
I didn't.
He's so old.
To me, it's something that we should do, because of the principle that people are still able to get it and use I forget what they call the chain of people that go in and will get pseudoephedrine from the pharmacist and use it to make meth, and it's been so destructive to so many families, and I think there are other options out there. So maybe when you get a cold medicine, we'll sell you some fire cider or something. You can see.
Fair enough.
See if it helps.
We're treating symptoms. I don't think this is the root cause. I think creating this is friendly advice from anarchist Jer over here. But
black and yellow, black.
Yeah, I'm turning into it. It's we're chasing symptoms instead of the root cause. We've got the drug war is creating a whole lot of these issues, and we're saying we're just going to inconvenience the guy like me that wants to go buy Sudafed twice a year, and now I got to go schlep down to Dr. Dinklage's and take a half day off work to go get my prescription to go through the thing, or call the teledoc and they'll call it in or whatever. It's just creating more hoops for me to go through to appease the government when I'm going to get the same result, but now I'm going to be out $100.
Yeah,
that's the frustration I have. So if and when you're in the State House, I'll be knocking on your door complaining about this bill. But,
all right,
but it's
that's
fair enough.
That is fair. It's just it's a destructive one, and I know that it's a symptom, and if I had any, where I come in on these is with the lobbies, and when lobbies fight stuff like that is. Their reasons aren't so that you can go get your cold medicine. That's where it sticks in my craw.
They're protection. They're in the protectionist business.
Yeah,
which is the same reason why you couldn't buy cold beer until this Sunday.
Right.
So Dave, how do people get involved in your campaign? Contribute, follow you, volunteer? What's the hookup?
Yeah, so they can go to votedavering.com. That's our website, and you can fill in your information on there to volunteer. And we've got a Facebook page, too, Vote Dave Ring. You can see what's going on. We've got a list of town halls to just put up today that we're engaged in all across District 26, and we're excited about that.
You had a big fundraiser this last weekend.
We had a fundraiser, our kickoff fundraiser last weekend. Went really well, had great attendance. I'm working the kinks out of my stump speech, and I'm excited to keep giving that and to go out and have an issue-focused campaign.
Is there any maximum to the amount of money somebody can donate to you?
There's no maximum, but I don't think I'm going to run into that problem. I've pledged not to take any donations from large corporations, lobbyists, or special interests. So.
Okay, but individuals, if they want to write a check for $500, $1,000, they can. We're good to go.
Yeah, we're good to go on that.
All right, very cool.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else we left out? Any platform issues or anything that we needed to cover? Or is this the basic, the Dave Ring basic version, the 101?
Dave Ring Light.
That was Dave Ring Light. Yeah, I think we're good there. I liked it. I had fun. Covered a lot of issues, and that was good stuff.
Well, very good. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. That was great.
Awesome. Very good. Chase, you got any final thoughts for us tonight?
I've got a few things.
All right.
I have a question first. Have we heard anything more about the Doughboy? Any updates?
Yes.
For the viewers out there. I mean, is it back yet?
This is a big rabbit hole that we don't want to get down. I have, however, been contacted by Mr. Markshon, or the guy that has been heading up the resistance movement, and and he did tell me that I need to attend the next park board meeting, and his reasoning is that it will get interesting.
Oh, so, snap.
Yeah.
I'll hold the mic for you.
We might have to do that. I might have to make a little trip out there to the Smith building, and we'll see what comes out of it. We'll see if it actually gets interesting.
Okay.
The Doughboy has been sent out for refurbishment. It's the World War I monument, so the
gotcha.
spirit of the American Doughboy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Henry County's had one. It's been in place for almost it's probably been in place for about 89 years or so. Nice. And it's been sent away for refurbishment. The Memorial Park Board is having it refurbished, and they're wanting to relocate it in front of a building that's getting rehab. And now there's two competing organizations. One wants it on the original site in the park, and the other one wants it in front of...
Is that on Broad Street?
Memorial Park is on State Road 3.
Oh, okay.
So it's the big county park on the north side of town.
Gotcha.
So the existing location, or the previous location, was along State Road 3, kind of nestled back up on a hill. And then the new location would be in front of the W.G. Smith building, the big auditorium. They're rehabbing that building, and the basement area would become a veterans museum, and this would be put into what's a parking lot now. It'll be like a plaza there with some flagpoles, and that's the design that was accepted. So there have been some changes on the park board. I think Chad Malacote resigned. He's the park board president.
He did. Yep.
His presidency was just a little bit shorter than mine.
I was a fan. Chase. I was a fan. I'm waiting for my shirt, by the way. I still haven't got to save the Doughboy shirt
Really?
or wristband.
I'll see if Mark can bring me one to the next park board meeting. However, you just heard Chase say that park board president
Chase
Chad Malcolm
didn't say it.
Or you just heard Jeremiah say, sorry.
I'll take
to
credit,
Chase. No. Yeah, you have something else to take credit for if you accept the idea. But, the park board president, Chad Malco, has resigned. So that means that there's an opening on the park board. And, we did have one Boss Hog of Liberty member that served on the park board. I think it's time to have a second.
It should be you.
Oh, no.
I think you'd be perfect for that role.
Not me. I'm talking about you, buddy. I think that you have a lot to offer.
People can be kind of mean. I might consider it if I get a wristband and a shirt.
And you can do whatever you want with the Doughboy at that point.
You need
right?
True.
That's how boards work.
You need
it's
to
just
have
one guy.
thick skin.
We
to
might
serve on
move
the
it
park
every
board.
year. I might
Like a
have it to where
Doughboy.
it's down by the building one year and then back to the original spot the next year. I don't know.
Next to the cannon one year,
Yes.
in the middle of the lake the next year. I like it.
Yeah.
Good idea.
So
it'll be like a maze. You'll have to go find it or something.
yeah, a lot of compromise. Where's the Doughboy?
I said from the beginning, at this point, it's going to be like Solomon, where somebody cuts it in half, and it's half in each location, and nobody's happy.
Okay.
The county commissioners have another vacancy to fill. They said last night at their meeting I attended, because I put in my bio for Purdue University that I just attend public meetings for fun sometimes. I sent that into them last week because I'm taking a Purdue trip. The commissioners, because of my departure, they had to go through this whole interview process. They finally got a full park board again, and Chad resigned. So they've got like 6 or 7 different candidates they'd interviewed last time, and I think they're going to try to pull, in the interest of time, to get this appointment filled. I think they're going to try to pull from that group of people. But that said, they still have a county commissioners meeting to come up. So if people are interested, send your resumes in and make your case and do your talking. And you never know, they may change their mind. They've changed their mind before.
I still think that Chase should run, or not really run, but go in for
Declare
the
his
interview.
candidacy.
Yes, I think that would be
All I do is win. Okay, so moving on.
hashtag winning.
What else you got,
I
Chase?
have a story that you'll like this one, Jeremiah.
I always do.
Maybe not the first part of it. So I had a little emergency room visit earlier this week, a couple weeks ago.
Oh no!
Hopefully
let's be honest. I thought I was going to be the one with heart problems, man.
Yeah. Hopefully it's no big deal. Not sure yet. But my grandma was in the room with me when the doctor came in and started asking certain questions.
Uh-oh.
And one of them was, do you drink and smoke tobacco? And I looked over at her, and I was like, Grandma, cover your ears.
Earmuffs, Grandma.
She just said, go ahead, Chase. And I was like, occasionally. And she took it okay.
She did,
but she knows now. Well, I'm sure deep down
this
she
is
was
a safe
like,
place
"Oh
now."
yeah.
But
This has been a recurring big deal with Chase. Is like every time he comes to the house, every time he does a podcast, it's like, "Hey man, you want a beer?" And he's like, better pour it in a glass." Like,
so, but I mean, she didn't slap me or disown me, so we're moving in the right direction.
Good.
And then the last thing,
At least you still have a grandma.
that's true. For all the
I'm
sports
fresh out of
fans
grandma's.
out there, March Madness is coming up.
Hoop season.
Hoop season. It's one of the most exciting times of sports. I don't usually watch basketball a whole bunch, but during this time I will. I've learned, for the people out there that like to set up brackets and stuff, the best way to pick the winner is to pick the team with the best looking uniform.
oh, there we go.
Or you picking the
Surefire
Ducks?
way
Oregon
every time.
Ducks.
I like the Oregon Ducks. I also like to go with Wichita State.
What's their uniform look like?
It's not that great. It's yellow and black.
Black and yellow.
Black and yellow.
Yeah,
They got some swagger.
like our New Hampshire friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
We back in the day, my brother, he was also the East Side Golden Eagles of Indianapolis. They were black and yellow, and we would go play national tournaments. And the national tournament was always in Wichita. We played the Wichita team, and our little crowd had some problems with the refs because they were Wichita based, and it was Wichita because they were just
Wichita.
brutal. Yeah, so they were. We almost got thrown out of a homeschool Christian basketball tournament over the Wichita chants.
Jeremiah.
I come from a rough crowd. I am the most dysfunctional homeschooled kid you've ever met.
That's actually true.
I am.
Like
yeah.
it is true.
Yeah. I'm not the skirt wearing crowd.
Nope,
The girls were. That was not what the girls I hung out with.
Oh,
Anyway,
that was weird.
Once again, the three homeschoolers that are listening, going, "Yep, he's exactly right." There's a certain scene of.
Did you wear pants to school, or did you just?
I was homeschooled, so I just whatever. Okay. A lot of gym shorts.
That's a demographic. That's a demographic now, right? Homeschool demographic.
It is. It's a very powerful lobbying block. The Indiana Association of Home Educators is like a big pack. You won't be taking their money because they're an organization.
Able to accept any losers.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else for us, Chase?
That's about it.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll get that ticker better.
I'm working on it.
I hope so.
All right.
I'm liking the new look, though.
Thank you.
Yeah. You gave your glasses to Dakota and shaved your beard.
Yes.
That's good.
That's what happens when you kill a guy.
So, Zach Burcham wants to know if you win your NCAA pool, do you get paid immediately, or do you have to wait like 5 years to see if, like, your champion Louisville, for example, gets decertified, and then the money goes to second place? How do your pools work?
I remember Michigan winning that year. I don't remember Louisville winning that.
Yeah. Well, the Fab Five had their problems too. Jalen Rose and those guys.
I feel so sorry for those fans.
I have no idea.
I feel so sorry for those fans. Like, that doesn't affect literally anything except for the fans. Now they're just going to get a whole bunch of crap because that banner was taken down and taken away from them. Like, sorry, guys. I'm not a Louisville fan, but
I think I understand what's going on.
Plus, God smote them this week. Their stadium flooded.
Happened to Notre Dame for football, but we didn't win that championship, so it didn't hurt as bad.
I think I know what's going on here, and it sounds very sad. It just sounds very disappointing for everybody that was involved.
A team won a championship. They got into some legal trouble not too long ago, and the NCAA made them
The NCAA didn't like them paying for strippers and hookers.
They took everything
players
away, basically.
So then,
see, I have a lot to say about the NCAA and why I think that they are the worst organization in all of college.
Is this from Ben Shapiro?
A little bit from Ben Shapiro. Some of it's from Owen Benjamin. Some of it comes from the Rubin Report. And I said report because I keep thinking Colbert Report. Yeah,
well, let's try to save your NCAA opinion for later time, for later in March.
Yeah,
because we're running long, and our poor guest is a hostage.
Yeah,
I'm a willing hostage.
Have you? He said, "Let's go 2 more hours." Anybody, you got time?
Yes. I don't have to work tomorrow, so
that's you. You got any final thoughts for us, Dakota?
I do have some final thoughts. I got this wonderful letter in the mail, and I got an envelope, and it said it was from the state of Indiana Senate, and I was very confused. I was, what is this? It was a letter from State Senator Jean Lysing.
Yep.
And she sent this all out to everybody that participated in the survey, which we encourage everybody on the show to do.
I have not yet received the letter back. I'm just saying.
It's a big deal. This is addressed to the Davis household, and it's for District 42. And by the way, I don't know if anybody can see it, but there's a actual handwritten note at the bottom of mine. Like, I said one time on the show that I think that my letter to her actually helped her with her decision-making process. I took full credit for that, if you remember my arrogance.
Yes.
And
very familiar with your arrogance.
And now it is very much confirmed. She said, P.S., thank you for sharing your view, because whenever I fill out these surveys, I don't just tick like the yes, no, or neutral. I write out in all caps.
I will read into the record that this is not printed. This is a cursive writing from Jean Lysing.
It kind of looks like your handwriting, though.
Whenever I got it, I analyzed it. Like, I put it up to my face to make sure that it was actual pen, and it is. And based on all my CSI knowledge.
Because Senator Lysing has an auto pen in her office.
Yes. But it says, thank you for sharing your view on local control of schools. Sunday sales has passed, but cold beer did not. So, and I also got like these poll results back, which was really cool. And I am blown away. We talked about Sunday sales and the outrage. Only 48% of the people in District 42 for the state Senate supported Sunday sales. That was like...
Maybe they just supported not hearing about it ever again.
Yeah, right. It was pretty funny. But, yeah. And my second final thoughts are there's going to be some big breaking news that is going to be breaking over the weekend in the Courier-Times. I'm going to allow Travis to have this one. I don't want to say a whole lot about...
It's going to be huge.
Oh, it's going to be huge. # winning by Mr. County Council mogul Clay Morgan, and it is awesome. Everybody should read the paper this weekend, and everybody should go say thank you to Clay Morgan because it was awesome.
Subscribe to the paper, and if you don't do that, steal your neighbors. You've got to read this story.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
It's going to be, like I said, #huge with a Y.
I want to thank Travis Wyke for putting my name in the paper again for resigning from the Memorial Park Board last year. People had almost forgotten that I did that, but in his Clay Morgan, that Chad Malacote quit, and he was nice enough to put that in there. Yeah, he mentioned my name.
Oh, gosh.
Thanks, Travis. I really do appreciate that. So anyway,
that Jeremiah is the one that got us into this mess.
Yeah, that was
actually. I guess that Jeremiah is the one that got us ... into this mess.
I don't think Travis writes in all caps. They frown on that at the newspaper.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
so that's unfortunate.
Anyway, we've got a couple exciting things coming up here. You're selling tickets as a county chairman, Dakota.
I am selling tickets as a county chairman.
You've got a big,
absolutely correct.
Big area convention coming up for the Libertarians.
I forgot to mention that the District 6 Libertarian Area Convention. Like I said on the last menu, if you're watching the video, the menu, I have it right here, and it is top secret, but it is from Montgomery Steakhouse.
Saturday, March 18th, yes. $22. Buy in advance. It's going to sell out. You got about 20 tickets left to sell, I think, at this time.
Yeah, roughly. There's only room for 45 people. At this rate, we're going to have to rent out the Gathering in Louisville next year. That's a good thing, though. That's a great thing.
Our area convention is going to be bigger than some state libertarian conventions, I think. We're fast approaching that.
Yep. We're a big deal. And another thank you to...
local celebrity Dakota Davis will be there signing autographs.
That's absolutely true. If you want to bring your Boss Hog of Liberty t-shirt, if you were one of the lucky ones that got one off of the T-Chip website before it was taken down... I'm sure both of us will sign it.
Sure.
All right.
Even Chase, if he shows up, he'll sign it too.
Yeah. You going to be there?
What kind of food? are we having?
Okay. If you need me to reveal the top secret, okay.
We are so long on this episode.
Anybody that listens, it's going to be shaved top round beef with sautéed mushrooms and sautéed onions. It is going to be honey-baked glazed ham, and then green beans. My. Yeah, green beans, mashed potatoes. A salad.
Dave, I grew up in Messina, New York.
And how much are tickets?
They're $22 a piece, which is $3 less than last year.
The morning radio guy, town is 6,000 people. He would read the school lunch menus for the Catholic school and all of the public schools in town.
Yep.
And that's what this feels like right now. We'll have shaved beef,
that's what we're
tater tots, and your choice of fruit or milk.
It's a big deal. Mark Rutherford.
Exactly.
Mark Rutherford is going to be the one that's going to be being the keynote speaker at the area convention, and he's a Secretary for State candidate. He's going to do a great job. He's going to talk about the importance of that race. I'm really looking forward to this.
I'll go if you let me have your tater tots.
Ooh, you can have my tots.
Give me your tots, man.
I won't have any tots.
Get your own.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We appreciate it very much. Next week we have Blonde and Brunette, Caitlin Kopetsky and Jess Hooker. If you look up Blonde and Brunette, they're loosely associated with the Bob and Tom show. They've been around there a little bit. Caitlin was on the Jeff Vibert podcast when it was in existence, and Jess was on the Chick McGee podcast. If anybody remembers that. So those guys will be on next week. Their show is they're mixologists. So basically, I think we're gonna have a weird seating arrangement. Dakota may have to sit over here on my right, and the girls are gonna have to sit where they can mix drinks.
I'm petitioning that, by the way.
We're gonna drink on the air.
I'm not giving up my seat. There's too many wires over here for the things that I control.
We'll have to see how it goes. But anyway, that's next week, and then I think we've got the next 5 or 6 planned. We're getting ready to get into the series. With county races, we're going to have, I think we've got at least 1 county commissioner candidate and 2 county council candidates already confirmed. Between now and the May primary, we're going to try to get everybody through the door that's in a contested race into here, and provide a forum to talk to people and discuss the issues that are coming up. Really do need to thank Dave. We appreciate you making the trip down here to Henry County. We'll get you connected with our Democrat friends here and see if we can get you in good with one of the counties.
That'd be great. Thanks, Jeremiah.
All right.
I need to do that.
Absolutely. We'll catch you all next week.
Thank you for listening to the We're Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at We'reLibertarians.com.